Hey guys, Michael Keogh, Team Keogh at Remax, and welcome back to the Barrie Real Estate Update. And no, we're not in 2017 again. We'll fill you in on all that when at the end here. We'll tell you kind of the comparison as to where we sit now and where it was then. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at February 2020 compared to January 2020, and then we're also going to look back a year to February 2019 and just show you where we're at year over year. So we're going to start with condos. So February 2020, we had 64 new listings. January of this year, we had 70 new listings. So relatively the same. February 2019, we had 100 new listings. So lots more inventory coming on. List to sale ratio, so what you listed at and what you sold at in February of this year was 98.9%. So if you listed at $100,000, you would have sold for $98,900. So fairly close to list price. Last month it was 98.1%. Back in February of 2019, it was down to 97.8%. And that goes back to more listings, more inventory, therefore people are paying a little bit less. Days on market, February 2020, we were at 34. January of this year, we were at 54. So a substantial reduction in that, as well as days on market in February of 2019, we were at 35. So similar to the past month that we just had. Expired listings, we had 34 of them this month. January of this year, we had 53. February of 2019, we had 40. So that number is similar, pretty much right across the board. Months of inventory, so how long would it take us to sell all of the listings that we have? Right now we're sitting at 1 month. Well, that's because the inventory is down, the active listings are down. January 2020, we were at 2 months worth of listings, and February 2019, we were up as high as 5. And you can see that in the number of listings that are there. Average sale price of condos in February 2020, $383,373, which is down slightly from January, which was $383,460. But it's up from February of 2019, which was $354,214. So the other thing that we found interesting is the sales. So February of this year, we had 53 sales. 9 of those sales were at list, 7 of those sales were over list price. So 16 were either at list or over list, which is roughly about 30% of the properties that sold were at list or over list. Last month, we had 30 sales. 1 was at list price, 1 was over list price. So that's 2 out of 30, so roughly about 7%. A year ago, February 2019, there was 20 sales. 3 of them were at list price, 1 of them was over list, so that's about 20%. So 20% in 2019, down to 7% in January, and we're up to about 30% selling at list or over list price in February of 2020. So that goes back to inventory, and again, a lot of new condo construction going on as well. So let's get into residential. February 2020, we had 203 listings, which is up from January of 2020, which we had 188 listings. If you go back to February 2019, we had 287 listings. So listings were way up last year at this time. List to sale ratio, last month we were 99.8%, almost full list price. January of 2020, we were at 98.3. So we're up slightly from last month. And if you go back to February of 2019, we were at 98.2%. So that goes back to number of listings, number of buyers, more listings. People aren't getting as close to list price. Excuse me. Days on market. We were 21 days in February of this year. We were 30 days in January. So down 9 days, which is quite substantial. And what we're finding as we're talking is that more of the listings that are coming on, the new good listings, are selling within the first week that they're on the market. So that's part of the indication and the reason why that's down to 21. If you look back at February 2019, we were 26 days on the market. So we're down from that even. Expired listings, there was 143 in February of this year. There was 196 in January. Well, that makes sense because people have listed their house till the end of the year and there's just more properties. February 2019, there was 180 expired. So months of inventory, again, we're sitting at 1 right now in February 2020. Last month was 2. And then back February of 2019, we were 3 months worth of inventory. So we know, everybody knows that the inventory is low. Average sale price in February of this year was $559,472, which is up from January, which was $544,397. And then if you look at February 2019, it was $507,057. So we're up about 10% roughly over the year, which is awesome. And so 177 sales in February of this year. The interesting thing is 29 of those were at list and 55 of those were over list. So 47% of the properties that sold were at list or over list price. If you look at January, we had 99 sales. 26 of those were over list price, 5 were at list price, so a total of about 31%. So 47% this month are at list price or over, compared to 31% last month. If you go back to February 2019, 86 sales, and of that only 13% were at list or over list price. So it goes directly right back to the inventory, guys. The interesting thing is, so people out there, they're talking about, oh, it's 2017, it's getting crazy out there. Let me give you a bit of insight or a little bit of information on what happened in 2017. So April of 17 was the peak of everything. End of April and then 1st of May, everything just slowed right down. So just to give you a bit of a summary, there was 268 listings on the market in April of 17. We're at 203 now. 108.4% is what the properties sold for, compared to where we're at now at 99.8%. So almost 10% difference from where we are now and where they were in April of 2017. Days on market, as I said, we're sitting at 21. April was 8. So that's like less than half of where we're sitting. And then 171 expired listing. Months of inventory, they said it was 1 month. Well, I think it was probably closer to about 1 hour, basically, because the properties were coming on and they were selling immediately. Average sale price was up slightly from where we're at. It's at $571, $471. But here's the interesting thing. There was 280 sales in April of 2017 compared to the 177 that we're at now. So the interesting thing is, what do we got here? 55, 75. So 84 of the 177 sold at list price or over list price in February of 2020. April of 17, of the 280 listings that sold, 225 of them were over list price. So 85% of the properties that were sold in April of 2017 were at list or over list. Okay, Mike, so 47 to 85%, that's quite a difference. But here's the big kicker. In all of this, what I've seen so far in 2020 is that we've had, I don't even know if I've seen one property that sold for $50,000 more than list. I think there might be one. And that was a property that was undervalued to begin with. It was a house that was $470,000, $479,000 and sold at $520,000 or $525,000 when the actual value of it was $520,000 or $525,000. Well, when you look back at 2017, there was 38 properties that sold between $75,000 and $100,000 over list. I'm not done yet. 17 of them sold for $100,000 to $150,000 over list. And we had 3 of them, get this, between $150,000 and $175,000 over list. And the big winner, we had one of them at $203,000 over list price. So are we in 2017? Not at all. You guys are smart. You're paying attention to the market. The interest rates are down, which is awesome, but you're getting educated. And if you're not educated, get further educated to the market, because what we're seeing is, yes, you're in competition in a lot of cases and you're paying over list price for properties, but it's not the same as it was in 2017. We're seeing the odd one that's gone, $30,000, $40,000 over list, but generally what we're seeing is anywhere between $5,000 and $11,000 and $12,000. Not like these numbers that we see in April of 2017 that went upwards of $203,000. So anyway, guys, I hope you found this interesting. And as always, if you have any questions, we would love to sit down and have a coffee. Our treat, call, text, or email. Enjoy your day.